and the fact that the people of the state are partnering with the government in number of development initiatives. All this notwithstanding, we need to remain alert both on the line of control insofar as infiltration goes as well as in the hinterland. In the northeast, the peace has returned in most of the states, and you are also aware of the denotification of disturbed areas in Assam, in Manipur and Nagaland. The economic activity and the development initiatives have yielded good results, and overall the dividends of the peace return of peace are clearly evident. This Army Day is also special in the sense that this is also the 75th year of our independence. So besides the Indian Army carrying out its primary mandate and role, we are also fully aligned to the national vision for the future and committed to achieve the national goals and objectives that have been set out. We have decided to undertake transformation of the Indian Army, and that essentially spans across 5 key domains, starting from force restructuring and optimization, modernization and technology infusion. Then you have the human resource management philosophy, or Agnipath, which came about sometime middle of last year. We are also looking at greater emphasis, stress and better outcomes in terms of jointness as integration. And lastly, we are also looking at refining and improving our systems and processes in order to enhance the operational, administrative as well as the logistic efficiencies. We've also decided that this year, or 2023, will be the year of transformation, wherein we have laid out a specific roadmap for the outcomes that we intend achieving. And of course, this process will continue beyond the current year. And in this regard, I would just highlight a few initiatives that we have taken. In relation to the Agnipath scheme, there are 2 key aspects that we are looking at. First is, we have launched the Army software for Agnipath automation at networking, or ASAN, which is a integrated software right from the Agniveer time that he gets recruited till the time he joins the recruiting centers, during his period at the recruiting center, and subsequently while an Agniveer is serving in a unit, till the time he exits at the end of 4 years or is retained in service. So this entire gamut of his management, his performance assessment, a selection process for retention, all that has been encapsulated in this ASAN software, which I am happy to announce. When the training of the first batch commenced on 1st January, we have started using this software. We also have aligned to the project of digitization and automation, launched another software called the Indra. Now this is the Indian Army Data Repository and Access System, wherein And most of you are aware, we have different regiments, and within infantry we have different regimental centers. So in this software, we will have all these centers or the record offices coming on board. So you have a central data repository of all our soldiers, officers, and JCOs available in a single window, which will essentially help us for better HR management and decision making. Now this again has been launched about a month back and is working well. The third software which we have launched is called Dhanvantri, and it relates to the medical data of all our personnel, essentially linking all the military hospitals. We have close to 150 of them spread pan-India. So again, here you will have a single window or a single database wherein all the medical data will be available, and this will again facilitate planning, management of patients, pharmacy, etc. In terms of the human resource management, couple of things I would want to mention. And first is commissioning of women officers in the regiment of artillery. Now this is something which we have decided we must do, and this proposal has been forwarded to the government, and we hope that this will be accepted. We also have Army Martial Art Routine, or in short, AMAR. Now by this we will be training or skilling our soldiers right from recruitment and during subsequent service. And it's an amalgamation of different unarmed combat techniques. This, we believe, will bring in more dynamism, more vibrancy in terms of their physical fitness and their ability to deal with combat situations. As part of the transformation, we reckon change management is an important aspect, wherein everybody in leadership positions, right at the topmost level, till the level of a JCO, NCO, or at the junior most level, needs to understand the importance of change and how this change or transformation is to be brought about, specifically highlighting the role of each of the stakeholders. So this change managed philosophy or document has been prepared by the Army Training Command and has now been disseminated to the environment both in English as well as Hindi. We also have taken some steps towards the welfare of our veterans, Veer Naris, and this is in the form of a Virangana Seva Kendra, wherein again this will be a single window opportunity for all the veterans as well as the Veer Naris to be able to access online, and will help us in redressal of their grievances. So this has been launched here in Delhi, and we will soon follow it in other stations. And lastly, I must also mention here of two more initiatives. These are aligned to what the government has announced in terms of Mission Amrit Sarovar, wherein each of our commands, we will either create or re-energize or rejuvenate 75 water bodies in their respective areas of responsibility. So we are looking at about 450 such water bodies getting created by August of 2023. And the last is our partnership or our contribution to the Vidyanjali scheme, wherein close to 150 of our Army public schools will partner or adopt a government school or a government aided school, and in this partnership we will be sharing our resources in terms of infrastructure, sports infrastructure, academic infrastructure, our instructors, and number of other facilities. So these were some of the initiatives I thought I must mention here. So I mentioned, besides our primary role of safeguarding the territorial integrity and sovereignty of the nation, we are fully cognizant of our role in other spheres as well as nation building, so as to support and contribute towards the national goals and objectives. And in all this, I think the media has an important role, because in this endeavor, we believe that we need convergence of ideas, convergence of strategies, and convergence of resources, so as to be able to meet the aspirations of our people. I'll stop here as my initial comments, and now I'll be open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, sir. We will now commence the interactive session. In order to give maximum opportunities, because there are a large number of you, what we will do is we will take 3 questions at a time. So when you ask a question or when you are nominated, kindly please give out your name as also the agency which you represent. Couple of requests, please. Restrict yourself to 1 question, and I don't think we'll be in a condition to take follow-ups with the large gathering which we are there. So with that, the floor is open to questions. Okay, we'll start with an agency. 10, Ajit Dubey. The second one we will take from 46, Manish Kumar Jha, Financial. And we'll take Manish Prasad, India TV, 21. You can start now, Ajit. Take a mic, he'll give you a mic, Ajit.
Sir, namaste. I am Ajit Dubey from ANI News Agency. Sir, it's been around 8 months since you took over as the Chief of Army Staff. You have been to different, almost all the war fronts that the country has. Sir, how do you see your tenure as the Chief of Army Staff in last 8 months? And what are your key thrust areas that you have laid for yourself? And what are the challenges that you see for yourself in this?
Okay, next question.
Morning, Chief. This is Manish Kumar Jha from Financial Express. Chief, Indian Army is encouraging a lot of niche and advanced military technologies through indigenous development. Could you talk about such indigenous technology, advanced technology, if you could point out few which is under the radar? And second, Chief, if I could add on, if you could throw light on the AK-203 assault rifle development, where is the production timeline is delayed? Thank you so much, sir.
Third question, yeah, Manish.
सर मैं मनीष हूँ इंडिया टीवी से अभी के हालात में लाइन
Manish, take a mic here. Your sound is.
सर गुड मॉर्निंग मैं मनीष हूँ फ्रॉम इंडिया टीवी सर. सर अभी के हालात में लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल पे सीज फायर तो है, लेकिन इन्फिल्ट्रेशन का जो अटेम्प्ट है वो अब जम्मू रीजन से काफ़ी दिखाई दे रहा है. पिछले दिनों टारगेट किलिंग के तौर पर राजौरी था या फिर आर्मी जो बेस था उस पर फायरिंग हुई. लोकल्स ने कहा कि आर्मी की तरफ से फायर हुई, फिर बाद में पता लगा कि वो फायरिंग जो सस्पेक्टेड टेररिस्ट थे उनकी तरफ से हुई. तो ये किस तरीके का पैटर्न देख रहे हैं? उसके अलावा ड्रोन एक्टिविटीज़ काफ़ी इंक्रीज हुई है, जो इन्फिल्ट्रेशन रूट चेंज हुआ है, उसके अलावा जो आईबी है, आपको लगता है कि आईबी की तरफ से भी एक्टिविटी इंक्रीज हुई है तो जम्मू कश्मीर को अनस्टेबल करने की तैयारी है? और कितने इन्फिल्ट्रेशन अटेम्प्ट और कितने टेररिस्ट किल्ड हैं सर इस समय?
Thank you.
I'll take the first question. Last 8 months, since the time I assumed the appointment, has been extremely satisfying and fulfilling. I mentioned of the landmark events that took place in the last 8 months, and Agnipath, or the new human resource management philosophy, I think was an important component of all this. I also alluded to the events outside India that have impacted us in one way or another. In all this, what has been our prime concern or focus area has been to maintain the desired level of operational readiness at all times. And I am satisfied and happy to say that both along the LC, along the LAC, as well as in the hinterland, I think our soldiers have done this well. And that is manifested in the improved IS situation, which I alluded to some time back. My focus has also been on modernization and technology infusion, which I highlighted as one of the pillars of the transformation that we are seeking to undertake. The 4-5 pillars of transformation that I mentioned in my opening remarks is an area that we have paid special attention to, and we have made a clear roadmap with timelines and laying down clear responsibility as to who is to do what and how is this whole system going to be monitored. The impetus to Atmanirbharta, that was also one of the questions. And how do we leverage technology, or how do you catalyze the new technology or niche technologies to improve our war fighting capability is another area that has engaged our attention. All this besides, in the areas of defense cooperation, we have made good headway, and we can talk of it maybe subsequently. The gender empowerment, especially in terms of the women in the armed forces or women in the army, has again been a focus area, I think, where we have made good progress. And last but not the least, measures in terms of the well-being of our ex-servicemen, the well-being of our Veer Naris. So here again, the way I'm described, we have made good progress. And from these exactly would, follow my thrust areas, if some of you would recall, which I had spelt out when I took over. And those thrust areas were on the similar lines. Besides all this, maintaining a high level of morale and motivation of our soldiers, our troops at our times, and undertaking actions, initiatives in this regard has been something which has also been one of the thrust areas. You also alluded to what are the challenges. Well, one challenge that comes to my mind is challenge of the situation on the northern borders. But that again, I think with a firm and resolute manner, with our soldiers who are deployed along the LAC, I think we have been able to maintain a very robust defensive posture and prevent any attempts from our adversary to unilaterally change the status quo in a firm and resolute manner. Implementation of the Agnipath scheme, while we are all aware of what the benefits are, but its correct implementation, I would not say is a challenge, but is an important aspect which again has engaged our attention, and we have undertaken a number of measures to make sure that the initial 6 months to a year of the Agnipath or the Agniveer training and their subsequent integration, assimilation in the combat units or the combat force is done correctly. So overall, my effort has been to give the right direction, the right impetus to the various transformation initiatives that I mentioned. Coming to the second question in terms of what we are doing for induction of niche technologies and the status on the AK-203 program. I mentioned initially leveraging the niche technologies is extremely important, especially considering the kind of potential we have within our country, so that we are able to leverage it to further enhance our combat capability. And to that extent, I'll highlight a few issues. One, of course, is you wanted or you needed a single point contact or a nodal agency at the Army headquarters who must engage with the outside industry, academic institutes, and other stakeholders. And I'm referring to the Army Design Bureau, which in the last 2 to 3 years is now, I would say, in its fully formed shape or stage and doing very well. You also have certain other programs wherein innovation in technology is being encouraged in terms of IDEX initiative launched by the Ministry of Defense, under which we had total of 10 projects, out of which 9 work has already started. So there we see a lot of potential. We are also engaging with the leading academic institutes in the country. We already have a Indian Army cell in IIT Delhi. We plan to open 2 more such cells, one in IISc Bangalore and IIT Kanpur. So with the bright young minds and the academia, this is our effort to engage them so that we find solutions through the niche technologies to our defense requirements. Also through the provisions for emergency procurement, which some of you are aware the government provided. Through this route again, we are trying to get or meet our requirements in this field so that we then try them out, evaluate them in field, and which will then form the basis for our further capital or major procurements. As far as the AK-203 project is concerned, we are looking at about 6 lakh odd weapons which will be manufactured in collaboration with the Russians. And as per the contract, this is to happen over a period of 128 months or close to 10 years. Roughly out of this, 70,000 is to come up first in a matter of 32 months, wherein the indigenous content is required to be in the range of 5 to 70%. And subsequently, after the initial 70,000, you will have the complete indigenous AK-203 weapon that will be available to us. So to where we stand today, the initial lot or the initial, I would say, components to fuse or form this weapon, the IRRPL or the company which has been formed, I am informed that they will be able to deliver this sometime by March of this year. The initial 5,000, and subsequently they will meet these timelines as we go along. और तीसरा सवाल आपका मनीष घुसपैठ के बारे में था और खास करके राजौरी में जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है उसके संदर्भ में। यदि मैं आपको कुछ फिगर्स बताना चाहूँगा तो पिछले साल 2022 में इन्फिल्ट्रेशन लेवल्स या फिगर्स में काफ़ी मात्रा में कटौती हुई है। जम्मू कश्मीर में कुल 12 इन्फिल्ट्रेशन अटेम्प्ट्स हुए थे, जिसमें से कि 18 घुसपैठियों को सेना ने मार गिराया था। क्योंकि काउंटर इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ग्रिड हमारा वैली इलाके में मजबूत और कारगर रहा है, हमने ये देखा है कि एडवर्सरी की तरफ से ये कोशिश है कि इन्फिल्ट्रेशन का प्रयास या उनका ध्यान या फोकस अब पीर पंजाल के साउथ वाले इलाके में, खास करके जम्मू इलाके या उससे नीचे भी पंजाब या आईबी के इलाके में ज़्यादा उनका ध्यान है। और जैसे आपने बताया, कई ऐसे केसेस या इंस्टांसेस हमने देखे हैं जिसमें कि उन्होंने ड्रोन के जरिए वेपन्स, एमुनिशन या फिर एक्सप्लोजिव को भी ड्रॉप करने की कोशिश की है। पर इसमें भी सेना, और क्योंकि आईबी इलाके में ये बीएसएफ की जिम्मेदारी है, दोनों ने मिलकर कई इस तरह की कोशिशों को भी नाकाम किया है। और इस संदर्भ में खासकर हमने ड्रोन जैमर्स और स्पूफर्स कुछ मात्रा में शुरू में प्रोक्योर किए हैं, और उसकी जो एफिकेसी या इफेक्टिवनेस है, वो जो हमारे पास अभी रिपोर्ट्स आए हैं वो अच्छी पाई गई है। जहां तक राजौरी इंसिडेंट का आपने जिक्र किया, वो कोशिश भी हमारे एडवर्सरी की तरफ से यही रही है कि टारगेटेड किलिंग्स करे, माइनॉरिटीज़ को टारगेट करे, ताकि जो उनकी विफलता वैली एरिया में है, उनका विचार है कि साउथ ऑफ पीर पंजाल रीजन में उसको ज़्यादा अंजाम दें। अब जो 2-3 इंसिडेंट्स आपने बताए हैं, उसके फलस्वरूप सेना और सीआरपीएफ दोनों ने उन इलाकों में अपनी तैनाती, अलर्टनेस ज़्यादा बढ़ाई है। और दोनों जो टेररिस्ट इनिशिएटेड इंसिडेंट हम कहते हैं, उसके बारे में जो इन्वेस्टिगेशन अभी आप लोगों को ज्ञात है, वो एनआईए को सौंपा गया है ताकि उसके और कारण हम पता कर सके। पर साल के एंड में मैं आप लोगों को याद दिलाऊंगा, 2 और इंसिडेंट्स हुए हैं। एक सिद्धरा का, जिसमें कि 4 घुसपैठ और उनका ट्रक को इंटरसेप्ट करके उनको न्यूट्रलाइज किया गया। उसके बाद अभी कुछ दिन पहले मेंढर पूंछ के इलाके में भी एंटी इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ऑपरेशन में हमने और 2 टेररिस्ट को मार गिराया है। तो हमारा एंटी इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ग्रिड, काउंटर इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ग्रिड उसी तरह से सक्रिय रहेगा, और इस तरह से जो प्रेशर है उसमें मैं आप लोगों को और आपके माध्यम से सबको विश्वास दिलाऊंगा कि उसमें कोई कमी नहीं आएगी। और निरंतर हमारे ऑपरेशंस, जवान पूरे मुस्तैदी के साथ एंटी इन्फिल्ट्रेशन ऑब्स्टिकल सिस्टम या फेंस पर और हिंटरलैंड में दोनों हम जारी रखेंगे।
Okay, we'll take the next set. From the left, we'll take Dilip Singh, Hindu Business Line 72. Ahead of that, we'll take Rahul Singh, Hindustan Times 51. And from this side, we'll take Ajay Banerjee, Tribune 41. You can start, Dilip.
Sir, this is Dalip Singh from Hindu Business Line. So you just mentioned that situation on the northern border is a challenge for the army. Can you throw more insight into it, not only on the eastern Ladakh front, but also in Arunachal Pradesh?
Okay, Rahul. Mic दीजिए यहाँ पे.
Good afternoon, sir. Rahul Singh from Hindustan Times. So my question relates to, we've seen a lot of Chinese aggression on their side, and they're building a lot of infrastructure and capability building, placing weapons. So what measures are we taking? What measures have we taken over the last one or 2 years to build capacity in terms of deployment of weapons and infrastructure? And so a lot of people, a lot of experts say what is, the silver lining is what has happened in terms of capacity building and infrastructure over the last 2 years did not happen over the last 20 years. Do you agree with that assessment?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Ajay? On the right.
Good morning, sir. Ajay Banerjee from the Tribune this side, sir. Sir, you have spoken, and also the Army has issued RFPs and RFIs for several new technology equipments. We also continue to add, sir, if I may say, old world technology like tanks, ICVs, and Hepters. How effective will these old world technology, if I may call it that, in a future battle with China? With China is adding so many drones, so many far-reaching missiles. How effective will these be? And sir, can you match these two? Is the existing technology enough to tackle China, sir?
Okay, thank you.
Right, so I'll take the first one, I think, which Rahul asked on the infrastructure as to what we are doing for infrastructure development. And I think this is extremely important because what you hear and what the narrative is, it's a lot of infrastructure happening only on the other side across the LAC. But what does not come to the fore is as to what has happened or what infrastructure has developed on our side. And let me put it in perspective by giving you some facts and figures. Purely in terms of the border roads, because that is extremely critical. In the last 5 years, the border roads have constructed close to 6,000 kilometers of road, pan-India, out of which 2,100 kilometers has been along the northern borders. The second aspect is upgradation of the bridges, because it is not only the roads that you need, but also the bridges should be able to carry the load of your guns and other weapon systems. So as far as the bridges go, close to 7,450 meters, if I remember the figures, is what length of bridges or number of bridges that have been constructed by the border roads. You are also aware of the frontier highway, measuring total of 1,800 kilometers, which will connect the various valleys, especially in the state of Arunachal Pradesh, is something which the plan has been re-energized, the funding has been assigned. Some work on the frontier highway was already underway, but I think this is something which will get the right impetus. There is an aspect of the connectivity or all-weather, shall we say 12-month, 24/7 connectivity, especially in forward areas, and I am referring to both Ladakh and Kameng of Arunachal Pradesh. In Ladakh, you have the Zojila tunnel as well as another tunnel referred to as the Z-mode tunnel, which will link the valley to Ladakh. Now that is something which will get operationalized, I am told, by the end of the year. So you will have all-weather connectivity from that side. As far as the connectivity to Leh, from the other side, of course, Atal Tunnel is well known, but you also have the Shinkunla Tunnel along the Nimu-Padam-Darcha road, which again is in the final stages of approval. So once this happens, you will have all-weather connectivity from both sides to Ladakh. There is also connectivity or better all-weather connectivity to the Kameng sector or the Tawang sector, wherein you have the Sena Tunnel, which again by the middle of this year is likely to get operationalized, as well as one further south at a place called Nichifu near Bomdila, so you have these two tunnels coming up in the east, which will provide all-weather connectivity. Then you have the bridges which are coming on the Brahmaputra river. There are existing 5 major crossing places. There are more which the NHIDCL and the border road is planning. You have alternate connectivity to lay, alternate connectivity in the form of the road which I just referred to you, starting from Darcha through Padam to Nimu, through the Shinkunla tunnel. So that will provide us the alternate connectivity, and there is also plan made for having alternate connectivity to the all important DSDBO road through the Saserla Pass. So you have not only all plans for all weather connectivity, but also alternate connectivity. If I were to count on the strategic railway lines, there are 4 which are planned, 3 of them in the northeast, 1 in the J&K or in Ladakh sector. The alignment and the final location survey, or the FLS, all this has been completed. The issues of the source of funding is something which currently is under discussion. So there is good progress on that score as well. In the context of the habitat, especially in eastern Ladakh, in the last 2 years, we have close to 55,000 troops for whom the habitat has been completed. Not only for the troops, which amount to about 350 company modules or 350 companies, there has also been covered accommodation, covered heated accommodation for close to 400 odd guns and about 500 odd A vehicles, that is your tanks and BMPs. Now that is a significant achievement. Overall, close to 1,300 crores rupees has been spent in the last 3 years focusing on the infrastructure and the habitat requirements in Ladakh. And there are aspects of, you are looking at shelters, locally made Sheila shelters in the eastern Ladakh. We are looking at more green solutions in terms of utilizing fuel cells, looking at hybrid solution to meet our energy requirements. And all this with the Gati Shakti portal, I think that is something which will facilitate and overcome certain difficulties we had in terms of getting clearances, forest clearances, land acquisition, etc. So in terms of infrastructure on our side, I would say there has been marked improvement, and my aim was to just put it in perspective and try and quantify as to what this improvement means. The first question was about the challenges on the northern border. I had mentioned about what the situation is, and the deployment from the adversary side continues in the same manner. We have equal number of troops on our side. We have adequate reserves to cater for all contingencies. In terms of the numbers, I would say there has been slight increase in the number of troops that we find opposite our eastern command, but we are keeping a close watch on the movements, activities there with all the surveillance resources that are available at our disposal. In the winter posture, that is during the ongoing period, some modification to our deployments have been done, but ensuring you have adequate forces, adequate reserves. You referred to the challenges. I was alluding to the challenges of weather, challenges of infrastructure, but in close synergy with all the stakeholders, be it the civil administration, importantly the Air Force. I think we've been able to synergize and integrate our resources and effort and maintain the level of preparedness that is desired. The last question was pertaining to the niche technologies and how do you strike a balance between the legacy systems and the new technology. and I must mention here, in any force you have certain equipment at any point of time which will be vintage, another set of equipment will be current, and the third will be state of art. In our current profile as they stand today, I would say it is about 45% vintage, 41% current, and about 12 to 15% state of the art. But by 2030, because of our modernization plan, we'll reach a figure of close to 35% current and 44% state of the art. And that is what our modernization plan, including introduction of niche technologies, intends achieving. How do we integrate the legacy systems with the future systems? One method or the route is upgrades. So in our existing tanks, in our existing artillery gun systems, existing electronic warfare systems, we have gone this route by upgrading or adding certain contemporary capabilities, and that is how our existing legacy systems, though old, but in terms of their ability, they have been, I would say, upgraded to the current levels that are desired. So that is how we are striking a balance and managing a mix of the three, and that, I think, is the way forward.
Thank you, sir. We'll take the next set. From the center, Sandeep Bol, 1. Shivani from here, 24, Shivani Sharma. And Snehesh from this side, 32, Snehesh Alex Phillips. We can start with Sandeep.
सर, मैं संदीप बोल न्यूज़ 18 इंडिया से हूँ। सर, मेरा सवाल ये है कि अग्निपथ स्कीम के तहत अब से अग्निवीर जो है वो सेना में शामिल होंगे। पहला बैच आ चुका है। किस तरीके का अभी तक आपने रेस्पॉन्स देखा है, कैसे रेस्पॉन्स कर रहे हैं? दूसरा, प्रधानमंत्री भी उनको एड्रेस करने वाले हैं, वो कब एड्रेस करेंगे? और एक सवाल अलग सा है, जोशीमठ में जिस तरीके की स्थितियां अभी बनी हुई है, वहाँ पे ब्रिगेड हेडक्वार्टर है, पूरा एरिया अब खतरे में है, और वो पैच इम्पॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि माना तक, LAC तक वो जाता है, इम्पॉर्टेंट कनेक्टिविटी है। तो क्या इसके बगल में भी या किसी तरीके के कोई वैकल्पिक रास्ते का भी आप प्लान कर रहे हैं कि अगर कुछ ऐसा होता है इन फ्यूचर, तो वहाँ तक पहुँचने के लिए, LAC तक अपनी स्ट्रेंथ को मजबूत रखने के लिए क्या कोई कंटिजेंसी प्लान भी आप लोगों ने तैयार किया हुआ है सर?
Okay.
Sir, I'm Shivani Sharma. This side, sir. I'm Shivani Sharma from Times Now Navbharat. My question pertains to the women in the army. You right now announced that soon women will be commissioned into the artillery. Is there a timeline, or in what numbers these women will be inducted into the artillery? And is this limited to the officers only, or there are some plans for other ranks, women to be included in combat roles?
Thank you. Snehesh.
Hi sir, Snehesh here from the print. So if you could give us an update on the optimization and the restructuring plans of under you. You know, we talk about right sizing the army. What is the right size that you look at, sir? What are the numbers that we're looking at?
Right. So मैं पहला सवाल संदीप ने जो पूछा था अग्निपथ के बारे में, तो जो शुरू का जो प्रतिसाद या जो रिस्पांस रहा है, मैं कहना चाहूँगा ये बहुत अच्छा है। और जितने भी पहले बैच में अग्निवीर हमारे रेजिमेंटल सेंटर्स में जिनकी ट्रेनिंग 1 तारीख से शुरू हुई है, ओवरऑल उनका लेवल ऑफ मोटिवेशन, एंथुसियाज्म, यदि मैं कहना चाहूँगा फिजिकल फिटनेस या कीननेस, इन सभी मापदंडों पर और अन्य मापदंडों पर मेरा असेसमेंट यही है कि रिस्पांस हैज बीन एक्सट्रीमली एनकरेजिंग एंड पॉजिटिव। आपने जोशीमठ के बारे में पूछा कि इसमें इसका क्या असर है। आपने ये भी बताया वहाँ पर हमारे एक फॉर्मेशन हेडक्वार्टर है, कई यूनिट्स भी है। जहाँ तक उसका क्या असर हमारे आर्मी के एस्टेब्लिशमेंट पर पड़ा है, तकरीबन 25 से 28 वहाँ पे जो बिल्डिंग्स है उसमें कुछ तरह से माइनर क्रैक्स पाई गई है, जिसके फलस्वरूप हमने वहाँ के इन यूनिट्स को या जवानों को कहीं टेम्पररीली रीलोकेट किया है। यदि ज़रूरत पड़ी तो उनको और भी ऊपर परमानेंटली लोकेट करने का भी प्लान है, जो कि औली एक जगह है जोशीमठ से ऊपर, आप लोगों से किसी को ज्ञात होगा। जहाँ तक आपने रोड के बारे में पूछा, मेरी जानकारी के मुताबिक जो रोड है अभी जोशीमठ से आगे होते हुए जो माना जाती है, उसमें अभी फ़िलहाल सिर्फ कोई माइनर डैमेजेस, क्रैक्स वगैरह पाए गए हैं, जो कि बॉर्डर रोड्स ऑर्गेनाइजेशन उनको रिपेयर करने में सफल हुआ है या उस पर काम जारी है। जो बाईपास का रोड है, मेरी जानकारी के मुताबिक उस पर कुछ समय के लिए शायद वो काम या उसको टेम्पररी हॉल्ट किया गया है। पर ओवरऑल यदि आप ये पूछेंगे कि क्या इससे हमारी ऑपरेशनल रेडीनेस, क्या इससे हमारी एक्सेसिबिलिटी टू द फॉरवर्ड एरियाज, क्या उस पर कोई विपरीत इफेक्ट हुआ है, तो मेरा कहना है कि उस पर कोई ऐसी बात नहीं है। उसमें जो हमारी मेन एक्सिस है जोशीमठ से आगे बढ़ती हुई, उसको कोई मेजर डैमेज या ऐसी कोई उस पर इम्पैक्ट या असर हुआ है, ऐसा नहीं हुआ है जिससे कि हमारी ऑपरेशनल रेडीनेस पर कोई असर हो। जहाँ तक सेना का वहाँ के लोकल सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और लोगों को सहायता देने का सवाल है, वहाँ पर जो हमारा एक हॉस्पिटल है, कुछ हेलीपैड है और अन्य फैसिलिटीज़ है, उसमें से कोई शेल्टर्स भी हमने सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को ऑफर किए हैं, यदि वो चाहिए तो कोई लोगों को वहाँ पर रिलोकेट कर सके। तो ओवरऑल जोशीमठ की जो सिचुएशन, उसके बारे में मेरा आंकलन इस तरह का है। एंड आई थिंक द सेकंड वाज on women in the army, which I think Shivani asked. I mentioned in my opening remarks that the women in the army have performed exceedingly well, given an excellent account of themselves. You would recently have also known that one of our women officers is now got deployed at the Siachen Glacier. You have a women contingent comprising about 25 women, which we have now deployed for a UN assignment. We have about 6 meritorious sportswomen who we have now recruited, and we are training them for greater laurels in their respective fields. You are aware of the permanent commission that we are going to grant to the women officers, which will then prepare them for certain more or major leadership roles in terms of command of various establishment and units. And those who have been granted permanent commission, we are now training them in other professional courses so that they are then eligible for selection for their future responsibilities. So this is in overall in terms of how we look at the women and their employment and performance in the army. And aligned to this, the step that I mentioned, which we have decided to induct women in the artillery, which itself is significant because we believe that they will be able to not only measure up but perform well in all the duties and appointments that we are able to give them. Last was, I think, by Snehesh in terms of optimization, restructuring and right sizing. I'll give you a little background. This has been something which has been under consideration for some time. You are aware of the committee of experts under General Shekatkar. They had made some recommendations, total of 143, out of which 96 were approved by the ministry, out of which 86 pertain to the army. And out of 86, 58 recommendations have been implemented in full, and for the rest, we are in the process of implementing them. The main aim of this entire exercise to restructure and optimize is to enhance the operational efficiency, make our organizations more lean, agile, more responsive, and then leverage the infusion of technology, make the force less manpower intensive. So we are looking at, besides all this, areas where we are resorting to outsourcing in certain non-core activities. If I were to give you some examples, animal transport, which we felt we have better solutions available in terms of logistic drones, in terms of all-terrain vehicles. We have made a plan by 2030, we'll have only 30-35% of the current animal transport units. We have certain other establishments and units like the pioneer units that we have made a plan as to how they can be how they can be downsized. Then there are elements of the other services. Then there are elements of headquarters. We are looking at making our ordnance supply chain management more agile. Also looking at as to how certain systems of food inspection, food laboratories, as to how they can be optimized. And so the entire aim is to, instead of downsize, right-size the army to make it more efficient, better prepared to meet the security challenges of the future.
Okay, for the next round, we will now take questions from Vedika Sood, CNN International, 92 here. We'll take from Vishnu, Som, NDTV, 4, right in the center. And we'll take 62, Rajesh Roy, the Wall Street Journal.
Good afternoon, Chief. This is Vedika Sood from CNN. My question to you pertains with military diplomacy. I want to understand if there's going to be an increase in military exercises in the coming year or years, subsequent years, with especially Quad countries. Thank you.
Yeah, Vishnu.
Good afternoon, sir. Vishnu from NDTV. Could you share a few details on...
Mic is off.
Good afternoon, sir. Vishnu from NDTV. A few questions. One question, sir, specific to Doklam. Are you seeing a substantial build-up in Chinese forces in the last couple of months? Has there been any effort by them to get on top of Jamperi? Have we countered that by a counter deployment there? And simultaneously, sir, on the Amochu to the east of Jamperi and Doklam, there is Chinese construction activity, including not just villages but roads going south. So are they trying to go well beyond the Jamperi? And if so, what do you believe their intention is? How does it threaten us?
That's 3 questions, Vishnu. Yep, Wall Street Journal.
Namaskar, sir. I am Rajesh Roy from the Wall Street Journal. I had a question. How do you see the fallout of the prolonging Russia-Ukraine war on India, which has a huge dependence on Moscow to service its old fleet of weaponry, equipment, and other war systems? Thank you.
Right. The last one first. I think, Rajesh, you asked what has been the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. So we carried out this assessment, and I alluded to the aspect of our reliance on some of the equipment of origin from these countries, which currently we have in service. So the sustenance of these weapon systems, equipment in terms of spares, in terms of ammunition, is one issue that we have addressed. So we've got a waiver and we've got sanction to procure this equipment even if it is ex-import to meet our requirement for the next 2 to 3 years. We have 40 such cases, including spares, some ammunition, largely pertaining to the air defense and our tank fleet. So that is how we are looking at as to how the sustenance requirement is met. We're also looking at as to how do we uh, look at alternate sources of supply of these spares which we were sourcing from these countries. And lastly, I think this is also a good opportunity for the indigenous industry to step up and see if which are the areas where they can, meet our requirements. So, in terms of the supply from these countries, yes, there has been an impact. We've been able to put out a plan to overcome this, and I think as we move forward, I think we will be able to overcome this challenge successfully. I think Vedika asked about military diplomacy. Now, that is an area where we believe the military and specifically the Indian Army has a major contribution and role to play, especially in the context of immediate neighborhood, because in the immediate neighborhood, it goes beyond just our exercises, because a number of officers from these countries have trained with us, all of us together. So there is this special connect. In terms of joint exercises, currently we are engaging with about 40 countries in either bilateral or multilateral exercises. And these largely pertain to mountain warfare, glaciated warfare, counter-insurgency, counter-terrorism operations, in which our friendly foreign countries are keen to engage with us purely because of our combat experience in these fields. And this has been a, I think, good initiative. Next year, we are also having an Africa-India exercise sometime in the month of March. Tentatively, we are planning to have it in Pune, where we have invited contingents of up to a platoon strength or less from African countries and then train together. So that's going to be a multilateral exercise, on the sidelines of which we will also have the Army Chiefs Conclave of the armies of these countries. We are also looking at enhancing the scope of the joint training and these exercises that we do, and include issues of larger interests such as cyber warfare, information operations, and the likes. So it is not only the numbers of the exercise, but also the scope of each of the joint exercises that is enlarging. We are also sending our training teams. Some of them are permanently based. We've also made some tailor-made training teams to meet specific requirement of certain countries who go there, deploy there for 3 to 6 months and then come back. So in terms of military diplomacy, I think we are able to leverage the potential that the military or the Indian Army can offer to further our national interest. And last question was by Vishnu on the situation in the Doklam. Now, without going into the specifics of it, I would only want to mention that we are keeping a close watch on the situation there and monitoring all the activities that are taking place. Beyond this, I think I will not be, there is nothing else I can share with you.
Okay, we'll take the next set now. Manjeet Negi, 8, Manu Pabi, 44, Ashish Singh, 31. Manjeet. Okay, we'll go to Manu.
Sir, Manu Pabi here from the Economic Times. Sir, on the challenges that you have also require budgetary allotments. Can you give us an idea of whether the Army has required additional money this year to meet these challenges? And in the coming years, sir, what are your expectations from the government in terms of allocation? And so one clarification, you said there has been an increase in troops along the eastern border from the PLA. If you could quantify that, and what reaction have we done to counter that, sir?
Okay, Ashish, this side on the left.
Namaste, sir. Ashish from TV9.
Yeah, this.
Yeah, सर आशीष फ्रॉम टीवी। सर पिछले कुछ सालों में हमने चाइनीज अग्रेशन देखा है एलएसी पर, और वो कुछ सालों में इंटेंसिफाई हुआ है, चाहे वो डोकलाम हो, फिर गलवान हो, फिर तवांग हो, और भी इस तरह के कई इंसिडेंट हुए हैं। ऐसे में अधिकतर देशवासियों के मन में एक ये प्रश्न जरूर रहता है कि इफ एंड व्हेन कभी भी अगर इस तरह की सिचुएशन पड़ी कि अगर वॉर, ये क्लैश कभी कोई वॉर के तौर पर कन्वर्ट हो, तो हम कितने सक्षम हैं, हम उनसे कितना आगे हैं या कितना बराबर हैं या पीछे हैं। क्वांटिटेटिवली अगर हम देखें तो जो ओपन सोर्स में हम भी उसे एनालाइज करते रहते हैं और दर्शकों को दिखाते रहते हैं कि हम प्लेटफॉर्म्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, चाहे वो एयरक्राफ्ट हो, सबमरीन हो या टैंक्स हो, थोड़ा सा पीछे हैं। पर क्वालिटेटिवली और क्वांटिटेटिवली दोनों में समझना चाहूँगा कि क्या हम उस पोजीशन में हैं कि कब तक एक रफ टाइम फ्रेम कि हम उनके बराबर या उनसे आगे निकल सकें।
ओके, विल टेक वन मोर। कविता 60 हरिभूमि, यहाँ माइक दीजिए बीच में।
नमस्कार सर, मैं कविता जोशी हूँ हरिभूमि न्यूज़पेपर से। सर मेरा सवाल ये यूएन में जो पीस कीपिंग मिशन में जो हमारी डिप्लॉयमेंट है, इंडिया का बहुत बड़ा डिप्लॉयमेंट है। अभी कुछ समय पहले यूनाइटेड नेशंस ने ये कहा है कि जो पीस कीपर्स जो पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं और शांति स्थापना के लिए प्रयास कर रहे हैं, उसमें जैसे कुछ लोग मारे भी जाते हैं, कुछ घटनाएं ऐसी भी होती हैं कि कुछ लोग घायल होते हैं। तो यूएन ने ये कहा है कि इस तरह की जो घटनाएं होंगी उसमें अब जो दोषी लोग होंगे उनके खिलाफ बहुत बड़ा मतलब सख्त कार्रवाई की जाएगी, और इसमें लीगल एक्शन को भी मतलब देखा जा रहा है एक ऑप्शन के तौर पे। तो सर इस स्टेप को, इस स्टेटमेंट को यूएन के आप कैसे देखते हैं? और एक छोटा सा सर ये कि अभी जोशीमठ को लेकर के एक सवाल पूछा था संदीप ने, उसी से रिलेटेड मैं क्लैरिफिकेशन चाहती हूँ कि आपने कहा कि हमारे कई सारे ऐसे वहाँ पे जोशीमठ में हमारी जो कुछ फैसिलिटीज़ हैं जो हम सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को दे रहे हैं लोगों को रुकवाने के लिए, ठहराने के लिए। तो सर अगर सिविल एडम की तरफ से आपको ये कहा जाएगा कि सेना लोगों को बाहर निकालने में, उनके घरों से सुरक्षित स्थानों तक पहुंचाने में मदद करे, क्योंकि अभी ये देखा जा रहा है कि सिविल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन जो बाकी एजेंसीज हैं, जो आम लोग हैं, वो उनके साथ ज़्यादा कॉपरेट नहीं कर रहे हैं, और सेना को लेकर के लोगों के मन में एक सम्मान होता है, एक अलग ही तरह का प्यार और प्रेम की भावना देखी जाती है। तो अगर आपको रिक्वेस्ट आती है आइदर स्टेट गवर्नमेंट और सिविल एडम, तो आप क्या लोगों को सुरक्षित स्थानों पर निकालने के लिए सेना जाएगी रिलीफ रेस्क्यू के लिए? थैंक यू सर।
तो पहला सवाल, दैट्स ऑल, 2 or 1 more?
There's 3 sir.
Okay.
Okay sir, all 3 Kavita Joshi, Manu Pabi and
आपका your question first, Manu, you inquired about the budgetary support to meet our future requirements. The government has assured us whatever are our capability development plans, whatever is the budgetary requirement, they will be met in every which manner. So on that score, I think there should be no doubt in our mind whether that is met. Last year we had about 36,000 crores of capital budget which was given to us. We utilized, there was some budget which we were not able to utilize fully, but that was largely because of reasons of COVID and the inability of some of the vendors to meet the timelines. But this year again, we've got to the tune of a similar amount. Today, the percentage expenditure is about 72%, and I reckon by 31st March, by the end of this financial year, we will be able to utilize the entire amount, and if required, we will ask for some additional funds, and which we have been assured or promised. We also mentioned about the troop levels across Eastern Command. Without again going into specific as to how many where, I did mention that there has been a slight increase in the troops on the other side who had come for training, who have remained there. What have we done in response? Of course, we have our adequate forces which are available, both who are deployed along the LAC as well as we are maintaining reserves in these respective areas. So on that account, I think in terms of our preparedness, in terms of our numbers and the strength, I must assure you that we are adequately or well poised to meet any challenge. आपने आशीष आपने पूछा कि क्या हमारे और एडवर्सरी के बीच में जो आपने नंबर्स का जिक्र किया, मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि कोई भी सेना की क्षमता या इसमें सिर्फ नंबर्स पे निर्भर नहीं है, उसमें कई अलग अलग मुद्दे होते हैं। आपके जो लड़ाई की सामग्री है या वेपन सिस्टम इक्विपमेंट इज़ वन कंपोनेंट, उसके अलावा आपकी लेवल ऑफ ट्रेनिंग है, आपकी लेवल ऑफ मोटिवेशन आपके सोल्जर्स की, जो ह्यूमन रिसोर्स है मेरी समझ में वो भी उतने ही मायने रखता है। उसी तरह से इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर और उसी तरह से वहाँ पर किस तरह की टेरेन अवेलेबल है। सो इट इज़ अ सम टोटल ऑफ ऑल दिस। सो आपको संक्षिप्त में यदि मैंने आपको प्रश्न का जवाब देना है तो मैं आपको ये आश्वस्त कराना चाहता हूँ या फिर ये भरोसा दिलाना चाहूँगा, यदि कोई ऐसी ज़रूरत पड़ी या कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन आई तो हमारी सेना पूरी तरह से सक्षम है, सशक्त है, प्रबल है, और यदि कोई ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है उसका पूरी तरह से मैं समझता हूँ रिस्पॉन्ड करने में पूरी तरह से तैयार है। और आपका प्रश्न था यूएन पीस कीपिंग के बारे में, और जो लीगल एक्शंस या इस तरह से इंजर्ड या जो वहाँ पर यदि जान गंवा देते हैं उनके बारे में उसकी क्या लीगल पोजीशन है, तो उसके बारे में मैं थोड़ा और मेरे को जानकारी हासिल करनी पड़ेगी। पर हमारे जब भी हम कोई डिप्लॉयमेंट करते हैं यूएन मैंडेट के तहत, तो इन सब चीज़ों का एडिक्वेटली हम ध्यान देते हैं, और साथ ही पूरा लीगल ओपिनियन करने के बाद ओनली व्हेन ऑल दीज एस्पेक्ट्स आर एड्रेस्ड डू वी कमिट आवर ट्रूप्स टू द यूएन। सो वॉट एवर जो भी आपके मतलब मन में शंका या इश्यूज है वो मैं बताना चाहूँगा कि दे वुड हैव बीन एडिक्वेटली एग्जामिन्ड, या उसका सही मायने में सोच करके ही ये किया होगा। स्पेसिफिक जो आपका प्रश्न है आई मे नॉट बी एबल टू आंसर सिंस इट्स अ लीगल मैटर, दैट इज वन, बट आई कैन रिवर्ट बैक टू यू। जहाँ तक आपने जोशी मठ के बारे में पूछा, और मैंने शुरू में बताया जो भी हमारी वहाँ पे फैसिलिटीज़ है, जो भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, जिस मात्रा में या जिस तरह से हम मदद कर पाएंगे वहाँ पर स्थानिक प्रशासन की, हम पूरा करेंगे। और ऐसे सिचुएशंस में हमने पहले भी पास्ट में भी पूरी तरह से मानवीय या फिर प्राकृतिक आपदा का सामना करने में पूरी मदद की है, तो उसी की तरह यहाँ पर भी हम करेंगे।
Okay, we'll take the last set now. We've already exceeded time. We'll start with Sudhir Ranjan Sen, Bloomberg, Manas Bhuya, PTI, and Abhishek Bhalla, India TV, India Today TV. Yeah, please start.
Chief, Sudhir Ranjan from Bloomberg here, sir. Sir, given the background of Joshi Mart, are you kind of doing some kind of a survey, assessment of your units, positions that are not only there in Joshi Mart, but, strewn across the border, the northern borders, given the fact that there is such a sensitivity to the border right now? And if so, do you have an alternative plan? And will you kind of advise the civilian government that the military is taken more into confidence before building projects out there?
Okay, next question. Mike दीजिए यहाँ.
Sir, this is Manas Pratim Bhuyan from PTI, Press Trust of India. Yes. Good afternoon, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
to at your left.
This way.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sir, do you think the Russian invasion of Ukraine actually added new complexities to
India's long-term security challenges, as it could, there has been observations that it could embolden China to become more aggressive along the borders with India. And a quick second question about your predecessor, General Narawane's recent comments that, theaterization plan will not be prudent idea without enunciating the national security strategy. So how do you see the comments, sir? Thank you.
Okay, Abhishek, Bhalla. Very good. Yeah, Abhishek, mic.
Good afternoon, sir. Abhishek Bhalla from India Today this side. So just a short question. Manesh has already asked the theaterization question that I wanted to ask. So I'll push in a simple question. A lot of thrust on women in the army. Is the army ready for having women in infantry and armored corps?
Yeah, that's all.
Yes.
Okay. So the first question in terms of the impact of the Russia-Ukraine conflict at the. So I did mention that we've carried out a detailed analysis in terms of what lessons are there for us, right at the strategic level, at the operational level, or for us as military men, at the tactical level in terms of the weapon systems, their operating procedures, tactics, etc. And we need to be sure that we have to contextualize as to whatever lessons they are, as to how applicable they are in our context. But in brief, we have assessed the impact, we have drawn out these lessons, and we will translate them, we will incorporate them, or we've already done it in terms of how, shall we say, relevance of the larger weapon platforms, relevance of non-kinetic domains such as cyber, space, or for that matter information warfare. Now these are some very profound issues, lessons that have come out of it. So yes, we are looking at all this and seeing as to how we can apply them in our context. Your question with respect to theaterization and the comments on what General Narawane said, I think it is not fair for me to comment, but to say that I think in the future, integrated and a tri-service response to meet our future security challenges is an imperative. And towards this, I think we need to get the right joint tri-services structures in place. And just to elaborate, you're looking at a theater command as a single entity, looking after all security aspects, issues in a geographical area under one single commander. So I leave it here by just highlighting the importance of theaterization, but stop short of commenting on what my predecessor, his views were. And I think that would also answer another question which somebody else asked in terms of theaterization. But yes, amongst the three services, we are in the process of consultations, deliberations on issues related to the integrated theater command. And it's something which is currently under deliberation. And the last was with respect to employment of women in other arms and services. I mentioned to you, we have taken the first step, or one more step, not the first one, in terms of as to how we can, where we can employ women officers. In certain other arms and services, as we move forward, we will in due course take a decision on this.
Thank you, sir. We have now come to the end of the interactive session. May I request you all, Chief has another engagement. We already overshot by 18 minutes. We'll have, Mukesh will have to finish here. May I request you all to join us for lunch on the first floor, please? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for interaction. Thank you.